very. Oh wow, that's wild.
Yeah, and it's really it's an amazing camera because you can really get in close and tight. And
Nose air cam.
Wow,
yeah,
that's.
nose air camera.
Where's that camera? Is that the camera right there? You.
Last.
We are live, but we are also on tape. We are deeper down in the bowels of Lee's music. That's Chris Folds. I'm Marty Hastings. This is Kamloops Last Week, episode 31. We were off last week.
We were off last week because your immune system couldn't keep up with the demands of life.
I have a dominant.
I'm telling you right now. I mean, I know a lot of people are getting this thing, but if it got near me, COVID would get the foldsy.
Nobody has dominated COVID like I dominated COVID. I embarrassed COVID last week.
Well,
you had no sympathy for me too. I told you I lost my sense of smell. You said you don't need it. That's what you.
No, I said you had no taste to begin with, so it wouldn't matter. That's what I said.
It was a little bit scary though, okay? Losing
Sure.
a sense of smell. And actually one thing happened there. Saturday night I was covering the Blazer game. I went home, I was hungry. So I put a pot of soup on, totally forgot about it, went into my room, and I'm typing away an hour later, and there's smoke in my room.
But you can't smell
And I
anything.
couldn't, so I rushed out there. It's like congealed soup, and
Yeah.
I couldn't smell a thing. So
I know. So there's a sort of a side issue with that. If you don't have your smell or taste, other things could happen. My daughter had it last year, and she had no taste or smell for like a week. She was freaking out for like a week.
ICBC settlement came in for my truck,
How much you get?
like $6,900.
What?
Yeah.
No wonder we're
Yeah.
such dead here. That thing wasn't worth $6,900. Holy cow! You should buy us lunch today.
Well, I tried to play I tried to pretend like I was upset about it for about 30 seconds. That's an embarrassing low ball offer.
Yeah.
And the lady, just the tone she took with me.
Yeah.
And they are so busy right now.
Yeah.
And she's just like, I'm working overtime right now. And there's no way you can find a better deal than that. Like, okay, I'll just send me the money.
You're like one of those idiots I see in Mexico when you're going down there and they have this beautiful jade or marble, a chess set, and it's worth $10, and you're there trying to get them down to $7.
Well, somebody told me never take the first offer, so I'm just taking this hard line stance for about 15 seconds. And
69 is pretty good for that vehicle for sure.
I also get free, well, not free, but I'm getting a massage covered.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to therapy on Friday, so I'm coming out with a new life. This accident's the best thing for me.
I'm going to go roll my car after the show, hit the jackpot.
Okay, Canada soccer, 1986. What do you remember about that?
Yeah, Ken, that was the first and only time Canada has qualified for the World Cup. And in fact, that qualification, I would argue, is more impressive than the current one right now for this fact, is that Mexico hosted the 86 World Cup. At the last minute, Colombia was supposed to host it, but they couldn't afford to do it. And so Mexico got it. And Mexico, as the host, were automatic berth. Now, there's 17 other teams in CONCACAF. There's only one other berth left back then. There was only 24 teams back then. So Canada had to beat 16 other teams, including the U.S., to get that berth. And they got it in a home and home against Honduras at the end. They beat Honduras 2-1 in a really cold Newfoundland stadium. So they made it in 86, and they beat out 17 other teams, which to me was even more impressive than now. But the dubious distinction Canada has is they were the first and only team to never score a goal in the World Cup in 86.
Yeah.
They lost 2-1, 1-0, and 2-0, 1-0. The Russian, the Soviet Union, was in their pool. And since then, I don't think any team has ever gone without scoring a goal, so that's interesting.
I don't disagree with the difficulty part, but I just think this team has the potential to change the landscape.
Oh, it
Mike,
does.
before you start losing, you don't care about soccer. I know you don't care. This is about more than soccer, though, Mike.
Play sports or play music, not sports.
Exactly. You don't care. But this is about the country, though. This is about the country coming together. This team has all the ingredients. And here's one story for you, Mike. Alphonso Davies, okay? His parents were Liberian refugees fleeing Liberia. He was born in Ghana. Canada accepted that family in, brought him and his family into the country. He became this huge soccer star. Developed for the Vancouver Whitecaps, sold to Germany for a record fee, becomes one of the best defenders
Bayern
in
Munich,
the world.
and
So
one
it's
of the
a
biggest teams
Canadian
in the world.
success story.
Yep.
And there's a lot of players on this team that are like world-class players.
Absolutely.
And I just think that my whole lifetime there's been I was 2 in 1986.
Yep.
Let's talk about the women first. Canada soccer's already been put back on the
John
map by the
Herdman
women.
John Herdman's the common denominator. He took the women to the top of the world. He's taken the men there too. So the coach has got something going on there.
Yes, Olympic gold medalists, the women. So
Yep.
we've got that already. And now all it's going to take, they're going to get to the World Cup, and mark my words, they're going to get out of the group. And it's going to change soccer in this country.
Yes.
It's going to change soccer in this country. One match day in this country with people, it's going to be like Olympic hockey, getting people together in this country.
It already is. People are already talking about it. I'm just saying the 86, what they did in 86.
This is a classic Foldsy.
No,
this is always...
I'm just saying, in 86, what they had to do, 17 teams, one team gets in. And this year, they're doing great. They're going to get in. But 4 teams go, 3 and then 1 plays the Oceanic.
They beat Mexico at home. They beat the U.S. at home. They tied. I think they tied Mexico in their away ties, home victories.
Yes.
That's hard to do.
It's very hard to do.
They're leading the group.
I'm saying it's fantastic. It's great. Remember in '86 though. It was 2 years after the North American Soccer League folded, so soccer was at a nadir there. Not only with the competition, one berth, but with the fact that there's no league back then. You got MLS now. You got the players are way better now too.
And one last little comment. Mike's lost attention again. He's probably drawing parts of the male anatomy like he did that one year, just doodling. But a couple big moments. Sam Adekugbe jumping into a snow pile.
Yes.
Okay, after in Edmonton beating Mexico. We've got this 40-year-old, 35-year-old goalkeeper who wears like sweatpants. Looks like he's in a beer league or something.
Looks like he's going to Walmart to pick up some stuff on the weekend. No, it's fantastic. I agree with you. And that win against the States, 2-0. In Hamilton was probably the pinnacle because I didn't think it would be. I thought maybe a tie.
Yeah. Good crowd there. Okay,
very good crowd there.
We took a long time for that, but my guy Herman Holthe always deserves his due. Get on down to New Leaf Produce Market. They're a big supporter of our show. If there is one thing and one thing alone that everybody knows, about New Leaf Produce Market, it always prevails. It is a juggernaut, just like its owner, Herman Holthe. And in November, yes, it was hard because the roads and some of his grade A produce, like the produce at Newfeld Farms, we couldn't get it up here. But guess what, folks? The roads are open and the shelves are stocked, jacked and stacked. There's always a rainbow on the other side when it comes to New Leaf Produce Market. Get on down here to check it out. During my brave and perilous fight against COVID, I had some time to do some numbers on this show. And if you're watching right now, you could sponsor this very segment right here, okay? We're averaging about 19,000 views per month across all platforms. We like community stories. We could play a video of your employee right now to sponsor this segment. So we're looking for new sponsors. We want you on board. Email klw@kamloopsthisweek.com if you're interested. Okay, speaking of local stories, Boogie the Bridge. Any memories for you?
Well, every time I've been in the training for 3 or 4 times, but I've never ran. I've never ran the boogie because every time it's held the morning after the newspaper awards that we go to in Richmond, the Mount Murray's, and we usually go there every year because we're up for a bunch of awards. And generally speaking, as they start running, we're just getting back to our rooms at the Riverfront Casino, bleary-eyed and drink in hand. So, but during the training, it's great because it's a community. And they help the people from whether you're really advanced or you're really beginners. They have these things called catch-ups. They run around and they come back to you, so no one's left alone. Mm-hmm. So the last one I did was during the pandemic year. We did about 4 or 5 sessions and then everything got canceled.
Yeah. Yesterday there was a press conference, and if you've been to kind of boogie events before, you know it can be kind of like rah-rah motivational mantras about love and connection and kindness.
It's very uncomfortable if you're like me, who I'm not into like hugging people and doing all that kumbaya stuff. But it's interesting from afar. But being there, it's a little odd unless if you're not that kind of person. And Joe's just this energy ball of energy. But if you're not like that, it can be a little bit odd.
Like if that's my circle of comfort. Yesterday we were like out in Pinantan somewhere. It was just not comfortable. But I think that's the whole point. Yeah,
take you out of your comfort zone.
Get out of your comfort zone. It ended up in me and Mike Miltimore locking pinky fingers.
Yeah, that's right. They were holding hands. It was nice
there's some video of that. And my other pinky I tried to get out of the circle actually. And Joe looked at me. She's like, Marty, get in here. And next thing you know, I was out of tense. So tense. I was like, locking her finger so hard it's probably broken. And Mike, I don't know if you felt that too. I was
Yeah.
I was going to say I felt that, and when you locked eyes with me, it just felt very natural. But yeah, I've never held another man's pinky for as long as I held your pinky yesterday, and you've got very soft hands.
Thank you. 4 minutes and 12 seconds was the exact number, but I'm not trying to make light. It was a great event. Joe is such a bubbly person. It's a great cause. Connection, love, and kindness, and healing this year. Check this video out right now.
I thought it was kind of neat, the healing part. This is kind of an addition this year. I mean, can you expand on that, why that might be kind of a neat aspect to it this year?
Yeah, I think that's an amazing question. Personally and professionally, around, as individuals, the three of us have done a lot of healing through a lot of trauma, and we've come out the other side, and we know, I think we all know that mental health really matters now, and that we all need to heal, and we all need support in our healing. So it's Boogie is about that. Or we do pinky fingers.
This is the most I've ever touched Marty.
You're both 26, right?
Yes.
And the Boogie is 25. So how big of a part of your life has the Boogie been?
Massive. Absolutely massive. It was quite strange with COVID not to have it around. It just felt like something was missing. So it's been really great to have my mom back organizing it. It's kind of like a fourth member of the family.
Let's make Boogie all about love and connection and kindness. These are not corny things. They've been around. Keep holding hands. You guys got this. You guys got this. We can. Yeah. We will. We will. We must. We must.
Remember as a kid, we must increase our bucks. Remember that?
Only Joe Barry can make people do things like that at times like this, and it's thanks to Joe's indomitable spirit, her ability to connect people, her love for Kamloops and her fellow human beings here that has made all of this possible for 25 years. And it's thanks to you that we're able to do this in person and bring it back. Like Leo and Cheryl said, we really need this.
Boogie is a fundraiser for Kamloops. We have raised over $1 million for local agencies. This year, actually this will be the third year, we're trying, please Kamloops, come out to support Western Canada Theatre, the Indigenous Youth Theatre program.
How cool is it to have this event back in the city?
Oh, it's incredible. I mean, we grew up with 30 moms. There's a huge team behind my mom, and we're all take a bit of her sparkle and try to pass it along. And watching the community, we can all heal together, and it feels very special. Yeah, it's really exciting. Yeah, we're stoked.
We can. We will. We must. Boogie Kamloops BC. Woo!
Yeah, you saw the video. There's
Yep.
Schultze chanting, Tara talking about her bust.
You know, that line she did come from a Judy Blume novel back in the day. I used to read Judy Blume's, even though most of the girls read it. And in one of the books, the girls were going, we must increase our bust. That's what she said, right?
Yeah.
And that's actually a line from a Judy Blume novel back in the 70s and 80s that all the kids read. And it's interesting she said that, so. Yeah.
This is why we have you on the show.
Yeah.
1986 and Judy Blume novels.
I just remember that. I remember that line when she said it in the video. I remember I read that book back in grade 6 or so.
It was super nice to meet Joe's daughters, Mak and Gaby, and they spoke pretty honestly about their trauma. And I thought that healing part was really cool because it's been 2 years.
Yes.
And it's back now. What has happened in these last 2 years? People are ready for this type of event to get back outside. I got a jolt from that press conference. Also, we went and covered the Special Olympics press conference on Monday. Got a jolt from that. So we're going to learn about that in the next segment, which is the Title of Hastings. SOBC Winter Games 2023. Chris, any good Special Olympics memories for you?
Well, we had the Olympic Games, the Special Olympics, I think in 2015 here, 16 or 15. And I remember the floor hockey. I was at a floor hockey game, just checking it out. I think you were covering something, and we were out there. And it's a very short time. It's only a few days, 2 or 3 days. But the one thing I remember is they're having a game, and it was for a medal or something, and it was very intense. But when the blue team scored the goal, and it was a crucial goal, the first person to go and congratulate them was one of the opponents.
Yeah.
And they were just happy to see someone score a goal, right? What the players were. I mean, they all know they're trying to win, but because they were so happy, he congratulated his opponent. That jumped out at me as being, it's pure, right?
Yeah,
it's just pure.
it's just
and you saw that in the video. It's very pure.
Yeah, the purity and the sportsmanship. And actually, you might not remember this, but when I was interning at our paper, 2009, some idiot stole a bunch of equipment from some locker in Mac Park. Turns out it was all the Special Olympians equipment. Right. So we put that in the paper. Within like a day, they had double the amount of equipment that they had, like people donating. So there's a huge love for that part of the community out there. Mm-hmm. It's good to have the event back. And you mentioned this guy, Joshua Trudell. I left this interview thinking, man, like this is something that we probably undercover, Special Olympics, Special Olympians. So have a look at this video right now.
For everybody, sports have been kind of gone for a long time. How hard has it been to not have sports?
It's been challenging at some time because athletes, maybe there's a lot of athletes, it's a social aspect, right? So it's kind of getting to know more people and making friends and just playing and competing. But which has been kind of hard, with all the whole pandemic going on. But we just keep finding ways to practice and get better and hopefully get back to counting down the days to get back at sports.
Well, people with an intellectual disability are often isolated no matter what. And so you can just imagine that in a pandemic, even more so. Often Special Olympics is the only opportunity that they have to get out and be with people that are their peers and really socialize. And it becomes their entire social life. And when we had to shut down, that shut down everything in their life.
See the Winter Games coming up, especially here in my hometown. It's an honor for me to play. I've played in 2 of these already, so I'm hoping that my friends and family can see me as well, and hopefully bring a gold medal in here. So yeah.
You talked about the social aspect. What do you enjoy about that, and what do you get out of that side of it?
For me, since the beginning, it's for 6 years now. So it's just been meeting lots of awesome athletes with incredible athletic abilities all across Canada and across the province. So for me, it's just to meet new people and having new opponents to play against and have a lot of fun with. And we're all a big family here. So
okay, great job. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
They're going to be looking for volunteers. I know that. They need more than 1,000, I think. There's going to be some details on that coming up. This will be the 5th time that Kamloops has hosted the Special
And we held
Olympics.
the very, very first ones as well back in '86, I think. Yeah.
Yes, back in 86.
That's
Back in
right.
86.
Back in 86. There you
Of course
go,
it
right?
was 86.
Yeah, I told you 86 is a big year, right? We had the Canada's World Cup, and we had the first ever, BC Special Olympics was held here in '86. This is the 5th time. Basically, we are the tournament capital and the BC Special Olympics capital, and the organizers say when they come here, they love it because it's ready to go.
Yeah.
You don't have to do any work; it's there.
Terry Lake was involved in Kamloops politics. I think when we hosted the Winter Games in 2015, maybe he has a memory or two to share. He's our guest in Last Week This Week. Okay, I don't think you heard us, but we were talking about the Special Olympics just announced on Monday that they're coming back to Kamloops next year. And I was wondering, I think you were in politics in Kamloops in 2015 when we hosted the Winter Games. Wondering, do you have any memories or anything that stands out to you about hosting the Special Olympics and why it's so cool for the city?
It's our brand. It makes us who we are. So I'm really pleased to see more coming and the Scotties next year. So it's just continuing to do something we do really well. And mostly thanks to the tremendous volunteers we have that step up to want to do this.
So Terry, you're now the CEO of the BC Care Providers Association. Where are we now, for the layman like myself and Marty and our viewers, where are we now with respect to if your grandma's in the care home, what can and what can we not do?
Well, I'm just off a call with the Ministry of Health, including Dr. Henry, so very timely. In terms of visitors, everyone is allowed to have an essential visitor, but that's the visitor who is doing something with the resident that really can't be done by staff, and that has to go through an approval process, has to be written into the care plan. And so our concern was, well, what about those who don't have an essential visitor? So Dr. Henry said, look, everybody's allowed to have an essential visitor if they qualify, but also a designated social visitor. So that was the change announced yesterday. And in fact, if you couldn't make it as the designated social visitor for, a pretty good reason, then you could have actually a backup. So the person in the home could always have a designated social visitor, even in the presence of an outbreak. So that's good. That means everyone should have a visitor, every day if they want.
Yes.
The outbreak situation is somewhat confusing in that it used to be that if there was one resident or more than one staff member with COVID positive, they would declare an outbreak or at least enhanced monitoring or enhanced surveillance, as it was called. Well, now we have homes that have 15, 20 cases of Omicron that are not considered an outbreak. So what they've done is kind of change the approach, saying, look, there's so much Omicron around. As there is in the community, it's going to be in care homes as well. But where there's sort of controlled presence of Omicron, we won't shut things down. We won't call it an outbreak. So you can still have your designated social visitor. You can still do activities, which are very important for quality of life. But if there's uncontrolled spread, then we're going to call that an outbreak. That's when we're going to put in these restrictions on activities and maybe restrictions on visitors again. So it's just a different way of managing it. My concern was that was never really well explained to us as operators or to family members until now.
You were health minister for 4 years, from 2013 to 17, I believe. So you have a unique insight and perspective into what's happening right now. Adrian Dix, you were in his position during those 4 years. You dealt with the provincial health officer and health experts on other files. What do you see that, from your perspective, what has gone well? When you look back 2 years, what could have been done better? Just generally, and behind the scenes, what don't we know that's going on that we should maybe know? I don't want you to spill state secrets, but there are things happening challenges that they have we might not know about.
Well, let me just be very forthright and say our operators depend on financing through the provincial government. So I'm not about to make an enemy of the health minister.
Come on.
But what I will say is that this is unprecedented, and everyone was learning as they go. I think when you look back, you could say what things could have been done differently. I would say that at the beginning of the first wave, for instance, when we really had no COVID in the interior, and yet surgeries, elective surgeries or scheduled surgeries were put on hold. I don't think that was necessary at the time. People were out there banging pots and pans, recognizing health workers at 7 o'clock every night. And when I talked to people who worked at the hospital, they said there was nothing going on. It was so quiet. There was nothing to do. Mm-hmm. So I think we could have handled the early stages of COVID better in terms of the acute care system. But that's hindsight and easy for me to do. Since then, I think the government has done a good job stepping up with, wage leveling to make sure that the frontline workers are well paid. The single-site order initially was, I think, the right thing to do. I question whether it's needed anymore, and I just made that view known to Dr. Henry because it's impacting staffing, and that's the bigger risk to health of residents in care at the moment. I think communication has been poor, to be honest. Dr. Henry has met with our group more in the last month than she did in the prior 2 years. And, I know she's very, very busy, but this is a sector that is impacted almost more than any other. And so I think we could have had better and more communication with the public health officer. I think that would have been very helpful. And as you mentioned, the isolation, I think we learned enough and that we could have instituted policies like rapid testing a long time ago to allow visitors to come in even in the prior waves. And I think that social isolation really did a lot of damage in terms of physical health, mental health, not only of the people in care, but their families as well, who went through a tremendously anxious time in their lives.
Okay, away from health for a minute. You were a longtime BC Liberal MLA and cabinet minister. You did run for the federal Liberals in a previous election. This week, it's February 2nd, Groundhog Day today. In 3 days, the BC Liberal Party, the party for which you served for many years, elects a new leader. Kevin Falcon is speculated that he's going to be the winner. What's your view of the race? Who's going to win and how's it going to play out?
Well, it's an interesting race in that it's the longest race ever, of course. So I think the more interest will come after the decision. I don't know any of the candidates that well, except for Kevin. Kevin was, when I was in government, he served as finance minister, served as health minister, served as transportation minister. And, Kevin is a conservative and I'm a liberal. But that was what the BC Liberals were. It was a coalition and, still is a coalition of conservatives and liberals. And I never found that in Kevin's head, while he totally believes in free enterprise, his ideology didn't guide every decision he made. He wasn't dogmatic. If you could present a good argument to him as to why we should do one thing or another, increase income assistance rates, for instance, or the single parent education plan that we had in place that was very successful, he would not let ideology stand in the way of a good idea, which I respect. And also respect his hard work. When he said he was going to do something, he got something done. And, the results of that are evident all over the province, including here in Kamloops, the university, the highway, the airport. So he's the only one I really know. And I'm not sure that anyone else but him could revive this party at this particular moment in time, because he's got that experience. He's got the brains, the organization, the momentum. So while I don't say that he's the only person that could do the job, I think others will have a more difficult time reviving interest and keeping that party together than Kevin would.
Do you think at all that his ties to the Campbell and Clark government is a detriment at all?
Well, it's a feature and a bug, of course, because the feature is, if you want to look back on what he did, you can point to things like the Canada Line, the Sea to Sky Highway, the bridges, the highway here, the airports, so much. One thing he did that always got me in trouble was promising a doctor for every British Columbian by 2015.
I remember that.
But it wasn't for lack of trying, and I'll tell you, there are more people today without a family doctor than when I left. So that's how hard it is to do. So that's the feature. The bug is, of course, yes. The BC Liberals were there for a long time. We didn't do some of the things we should have done. We didn't really spread the wealth of the province around to the people that really could benefit. We could have taken care of people, I think, better. There were some good things we did, like the single parent initiative, like mandatory all-day kindergarten, which again was a Campbell government initiative. But people looked at the BC Liberal government as single-mindedly focused on economic issues and not social issues. I think Kevin's learned a lot from that. And so while that is a bit of a bug from the past, it may be what enables him to do a better job in that area in the future.
Final thing on the political thing, and then I'll let Marty get to you. And it's a minor thing, but how important, or do they need a name change?
Colin Hanson looked at this. When you look at the success of the BC Liberal Party, it's hard to imagine that changing the name is going to make a big difference. You may lose some people if you do that. But, at the end of the day, it does cause brand confusion. There's no question. People, saw me as a BC Liberal. And then when I ran as a federal Liberal, some people were shocked because they assumed BC Liberals were conservatives. Yeah. Well, that's a bit of a mind twister. And so there's some brand confusion there, but I'm not sure that going through and using a lot of energy to do that is the right thing. But that will be for the party to decide over the next probably 6 months or so.
All right. Just before we let you go, I want to get your thoughts on the Freedom Convoy in general. How did you think that went down?
It makes my heart ache, to be honest, when I see, I lived in Ottawa for 2 years and I lived right downtown, and I can imagine what life is like for people there. This isn't about making a political point or trying to change society for the better. It's about having a big party and acting like yahoos for the most part. there's always, good intentions, but I think they were overtaken by the yahoos and the alt-right and the racists and the people with very narrow minds that just saw it as an opportunity to get their name and faces on social media and have a party with their buddies. A bit of a bro culture thing going on that is pretty obnoxious in many ways. And, obviously down at the border in Alberta, it's even worse. I mean, you're complaining about not moving goods and having empty shelves, and meanwhile you're blocking, the hardworking truckers that are trying to bring in goods from the U.S. So, we'll get past this, but it as a Canadian, it makes me sad.
Thanks for your time, Terry. Appreciate it.
Great to see you guys.
Good.
Thanks.
So some passionate thoughts from Terry on the Freedom Convoy. I think you might have some of those too. So let's flip to your segment, which is Above the Folds.
1, 2, 3, 4.
What's that photo right there, Chris?
This is an Ottawa citizen photo, one of many that they took during the protest this past weekend in Ottawa for the so-called Freedom Convoy in a bid to get the mandates lifted for the vaccine mandates. This is Frank Caputo. He's the new MP for Kamloops Thompson Caribou, a Conservative MP. He's praying at the War Memorial, the National War Memorial, on Monday, January 31st, after a weekend in which some protesters were seen dancing on this memorial and parking on the plaza next to it, which is a definite no-no. And so Frank, we spoke to Frank for a story about what he thought of the protests. He's in Ottawa now, and what he thinks of what's happening. And he spoke in the House of Commons on Monday and made a good speech about how he supports the right to protest, but he completely says those who. Those who danced on this war memorial, those who took Terry Fox's statue and made it a pro-anti-vaccine thing should be ashamed of themselves, and I agree.
Well, so let's hear what you think about it, your social media, your Facebook, as it does, lighting up a fair bit with some arguments. So what's your take on it?
My take is it's ironic. You have this Freedom Convoy, free to go across the country, free to block all of downtown Ottawa for days on end, with no police presence to take them out, which would never happen if me or you went down there and sat in the middle of the intersection and protested. We'd be hauled off right away. So it's just weird to me that they're arguing they have no freedom, but they're free to go across the country and do this, which is great. And for the most part, it's been a peaceful protest. I just think that when you have a protest like that and you attract. And granted, it's the minority waving a swastika, the minority waving a Confederate flag, the minority dancing on the, and I argue with people and they say, well, that's just the minority, and the people doing it have they're not like that. And I get it, I say, but I've covered and I've watched, we all have, hundreds of demonstrations in Victoria, City Hall here, and in Ottawa, from farmers, from students, from Indigenous protesters, and never in any of those protests have I seen a swastika flag. Never have I seen a Confederate flag. Never have I seen somebody with signs that are so vile, with kids holding signs, hoping the Prime Minister and his family die. I mean, this doesn't happen in other protests.
Yeah.
And that's my point, is that it attracts.
It's that same minority, though, that's going to accuse you of being this hyper-liberal left media man, taking your orders from on high, the Pied Piper of pandemic propaganda that you are. They're going to be accusing you of that, too.
Of course. And the problem with me going on social media, and I should stop it.
There are many problems with that.
You can't, and I've had this conversation. You can have a good debate with somebody who might, like I know people who are fully vaccinated but don't like the mandates. I have problems with some of the mandates because they don't make sense, especially the restaurant ones. But I get what they're trying to do. The difference is a lot of these people think the mandates are part of a greater plan to control us, and New World Order, and that they're going to take all our liberties away. Whereas I see it as, this is what they think should be happening. I'm willing to go through it for a little longer. But if it's, but I'm not going to, when they're going to Ottawa, they have a manifesto.
Yeah.
And it's ridiculous. It's like it's a manifesto that says we demand Justin Trudeau and his party resign. We want to meet with the Governor General. We want a new. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Look what's happening in Coutts, Alberta right now. I mean, the mayor of Coutts, a little town on the border, on the U.S.-Canada border, and there's a blockade down there. And like Terry Lake just said, it's kind of ironic that they want the free flow of goods, but they're blocking the free flow of goods.
Yeah.
The mayor and his wife were at home, and the protesters went to their house, knocking on the doors, taking pictures through the windows. So that's the 5%ers. And I call them the 5%ers because that's the 5% who voted for the People's Party of Canada and have fringe views. And they are fringe views.
Yeah, the true colors come out. Even just longtime friends that I see their Instagram posts now, and it's always like the media, this, that. I mean, guys, like, I'm part of the media, and it's an insult. It's insulting to me that they would think that I'm like taking orders from something and we're all in cahoots together, and it's just it's bonkers.
We could barely meet deadline without arguing. How can we have I have a relative, I love her dearly, but she went to this rally and she wears a shirt that says the media is the virus. So I told her, well, I guess I shouldn't be around you anymore in case I infect you.
Yeah.
So it's pretty crazy. But bottom line is, the fact that they can go to Ottawa and they can clog the downtown. I have a niece who lives there, and she's out of her mind with these. She calls them idiots. But the fact that they can go there and have a generally peaceful protest against what they think is wrong, and I don't disagree with some of their points. The fact that they can do that defeats the purpose of their argument that they're not free to do that. It just drives me nuts. But more power to them. Keep it clean, keep it peaceful, stay off the bloody war monument, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, there's more news happening. We're covering it in the Last Week Clip.
Two stories to look out for from me this week. The first is about some would-be homeowners who may have lost their deposits of $10,000 or more, including a single mother who is now holding out hope that she will still get her new home. The second is about who's in hospital with or due to COVID-19. The province gave an update on Tuesday that sheds a little bit of light on why the province's hospitalizations have shot up recently.
And then on the front page, we have a feature on a little-known plant known as Kratom. And this is essentially, it's a Southeast Asian plant that's been known to be used to treat opioid addictions. But what it actually does is it's been known to essentially cause overdose fatality, especially when mixed with other drugs. And we got turned on to this when we did a follow-up with the family of an Aaron Manson, a Kamloops man who passed away last April from an overdose. We did a story about him and his struggles there with his family after his passing in September. And then this story here about Kratom we ended up doing after they learned through the coroner's report that this substance is what contributed to his passing. So I got those stories and more in the newspaper this week. A lot of interesting stuff there to read. Make sure to pick up a copy. Back to you guys in the studio.
Homeowners losing deposits. Michael Potestio talked about it. Actually, Michael, the socialite king, okay, he's lost some oomph in his throwbacks. You notice that? He's kind of limping into his throwbacks. Do a better job. He's got a haircut. He's looking good with his haircut.
But he looks so morose. He looked like his cat died or something.
Why are you so sad,
What's
Michael?
going on there? Yes, I know.
Let's go more passion, more power. Let's send it back to the studio.
I just met Michael and young Levi Landry, reporter for Info.
They let you in.
News.
The socialite king let you in.
I went to a good place. So what's it called? Iron Road. Very nice place.
Yeah.
They got the best. It's called Iron Road Locomotive Lager. It's good. It's a good lager. It's not like really hoppy like the other shit. It's really good stuff. And I sat with Michael and we and Levi. And we had a couple of pints and we had a good talk last Friday night about the media, about life and everything. So he was good there. But yeah, you're right. This you look kind of morose in this. Yeah.
Okay, I think that's it. Mike, can we get the ISO cam going for the finish of the show here? Just want to give a shout out here to my guy, Herman Hothe here. Herman, we couldn't do it without you, buddy. Also, any other sponsors out there, you want the Herman treatment, KLW at KamloopsThisWeek.com. For Chris, I'm Marty. This has been Kamloops Last Week, and we will see you last week.
Last.